There are signals that inform forensic prophecy. There are signals that seers watch out for on a daily basis. There are signals that all prophetic people who intend to be smart, sharp, forensic, accurate, that's 100% accurate as allowed by the Spirit of the Lord, must take note of. These signals inform our interaction or engagement of the prophetic codes. And while engaging the prophetic codes with the accorded prophetic tools, these signals are things that CES look out for or leverage on, take advantage of, in order to catch a glimpse of what God is saying. In most cases, when God talks, He doesn't necessarily make it so open or so bold, particularly for those who are learners or beginners in the prophetic. So they hardly can decode that is God talking. Meanwhile, that's God's own way of talking loud enough. Recall that when God first called Samuel, since it wasn't his way, it was beyond his level of understanding and appreciation of spirituality as taught him by Eli at the time. So he had to run to Eli. When God called Samuel, Samuel, he ran to Eli. Did you call or you called me? And the man said, I didn't call. Go lie down, see. He went back to the temple and laid down to sleep, and God came again and called the second time. That's in 1 Samuel chapter 3. The entire picture of his calling unwind there. And for 3 times this repeated, and Eli perceived that God was calling this young man. And Eli had to guide him on how to answer the call of God. It was when he answered that he gained access to the rest of the message that God had in mind to pass across to his people at the time through the young prophet Samuel. So there are codes for prophesying, right? The prophetic tools that we engage in the codes. There are signals that informs the activities of these prophetic tools. God can communicate about the same thing in 10 ways at the same time. So seers and prophets or prophetic people in general, if they are conscious, they are able to pick either of the 10 ways God is saying the same thing at the same time. In other words, if we attend seers in a place and God is saying the same thing in 10 different ways at a time, it's very much possible that each of the seers, or at least 2 or 3 of the seers, will be able to appreciate what God is saying through a particular signal of the 10 signals. Then the other 2 or 1 or 5, as the case may be, will be able to decode, dictate what God is saying through the other signal. So a lot of signals can inform a single prophecy. It depends on your readiness and aliveness as a prophetic person to pick what God is saying at the material instance and through which signal. Now, let's look at the signals. Most of the signals that God uses to communicate with prophets are physically dictatable signals. I mean, a lot of the signals are signals that can be dictated ordinarily with human natural senses, and they will not necessarily inform prophecies. But for those who are seers, these physical signals now serves as pointers or indicators of a probable prophetic message lurking in the air around the corner. So you are able to turn on your prophetic antennas or receptors, get them activated. Hence, you are able to tap the prophetic message that ensues the signal or is conveyed by the signal. There are some cases when a signal of a prophetic message God is about to give to you as a prophet or a seer comes without the prophetic message. In that case, the signal prepares you by way of making you to activate your prophetic receptors so that you can pick the message coming after the signal that will ensue the signal, or the signal comes with the prophecy at the same time. That's how it works. Let's read Numbers chapter 12 and verse 1. And Miriam and Aaron spoke against Moses because of the Ethiopian woman whom he had married, for he had married an Ethiopian woman, and they had said, has the Lord indeed spoken only by Moses? Has he not spoken also by us? And the Lord heard it. What did God say in verse 3? Now the man Moses was very meek above all men who were upon the face of the earth. So in verse 4, and the Lord spoke suddenly unto Moses and unto Aaron and unto Miriam, come out, you three, under the tabernacle of the meeting, and the three came out. Verse 5, and the Lord came down in a pillar of cloud and stood in the door of the tabernacle and called Aaron and Miriam, and they both came forth. And he said, hear now my words, if there be a prophet among you. That also means if there be a seer among you. I, the Lord, will make myself known unto him in a vision, and I will speak unto him in a dream. My servant Moses is not thus, who is faithful in all my house. In verse 8, with him I will speak mouth to mouth, even clearly and not in dark sayings, and the form of the Lord shall he behold. Why then are you not afraid to speak against my servant Moses? What I want you to see here is that he established the fact that he speaks to Moses in a clear form. He will behold the form of God. He speaks to Moses as a friend speaks with a friend. But he said, if there be a prophet among you, of which many prophets fall into this category, he said, I will reveal myself to him or make myself known to him, or I'll come to these persons with a vision or in a dream. Now, for a vision to appear, the Bible said the Lord revealed himself to Samuel in Shiloh by the word. That's in a vision of the word. For a vision to appear to you, which also means to be revealed to you, what God does is that he will send a signal that precedes it, signifies a signal that tells us, gives us the alertness that God is about to speak, or he is speaking, or he has spoken. So you're going to be smart enough to be positioned now to download message dictated. All right, let me pick a few signals. Signal number 1, sound of breeze. There are occasions you find yourself in a place and the breeze begin to blow. Sometimes it can be storm, sometimes it can be a whirlwind, sometimes whatever. But there is that kind of movement of the air that arouses your sensation. It can be noisy enough at times, it can be quiet enough, but can arouse the hair of your body. For seers, they don't take chances. When you notice anything suddenly like that, you pay attention. Probably God is about to speak. And remember that you have to know how to differentiate between the voice of God and the voice of Satan and your voice, so that you don't pick the wrong information or message following such signal. Like the sound of birds or other animals can also serve as signals, sometimes signifying a prophecy coming or coming together with a prophecy based on the way it sounded and the interpretation that follows the sound, and engaging a prophetic code that has to do with the sound ability, like the prophetic codes of the perpendicular, the prophetic code of gazing, the prophetic code of prophetic questions, or any other prophetic codes that one can engage and still appreciate sound. In other words, I want to say that there are occasions in which you are not necessarily the one who now stands up to want to prophesy, but God allow a process or circumstance to elicit a signal that gives you the alertness now to get ready to prophesy. So that's the second kind of signal you can expect. Sound made by animals if you're around them. There are also occasions where inanimate things, or should I put it this way, devices created by man can make such strange sound. It can be a car and make no noise. Then all of a sudden, a particular sound that is strange comes through it. Pay attention to the next sound that's going to come. In most cases, the signal you receive also tells which mode the message is going to come through. Like this one, that is a signal of sound. In most cases, the next information that is going to come to you is going to come through your prophetic ability that has to do with hearing. A third signal can be when somebody stares at you, or the memory of this person pops up in your mind without you having to think about it previously per se, or this person previously. It can be a spontaneous issue that somebody's image just pops up